Quick question for you, Nigel. Do you think Theresa May's deal is a good deal?
Not a brilliant deal, but I think...
Why are you voting for it?
On the hierarchy of choices, Piers.
Isn't it the hierarchy of bottling?
No.
Haven't you all just lost your bottle?
No, I'll tell you what, Andrew Piers just told you earlier on that we've got a parliament that is fairly well three-quarters Remain.
Sure.
And what they're likely to vote for is something that is akin to Brexit in name only. Don't forget there's a number of Labour MPs that represent Leave constituencies too. And I heard one on the radio yesterday saying, oh, I voted for Brexit in legislation. What he means is he's voting for a customs union and the single market, which means that we don't have free movement of labour. It means we're paying billions in. It means we're justifiable.
Why don't you hold out for no deal?
That's not Brexit. Because effectively, the Prime Minister took no deal off the table 2 days ago.
Why don't you just all stand up together and say we're not having it and let the public judge the Remain-dominated Parliament if they try and stop Brexit happening? Wouldn't that be a more principled position?
That
everyone now currently who's been trashing this deal, now suddenly at the last minute being bullied into basically surrendering.
Because all along
Boris,
we heard
everyone.
No deal was better than a bad deal.
Yeah.
So if you think this is a bad deal, why not hold out for no deal?
Because I think that this deal, as Jacob has said, is less worse than some of the other options that a Remain Parliament are likely to
But you guys have always said no deal's better than a bad... Even Theresa May has said that.
No, but I'll tell you what, Piers, I think for a lot of people out there, they're just wondering why we've not left the European Union. We should be leaving a day after tomorrow.
You won't be leaving it with Theresa May's deal.
Well, we will be. We will be. We'll be out of all the institutions, and then
will we be tied indefinitely to a customs union because of the Irish border situation?
My view...
We will, or yes or no?
My view is no.
We won't?
My view is no. And
You're the only person in Britain that doesn't think we will
And I'll tell you why, because the DUP, don't forget, have leverage, which they really don't talk about, which is they could, at any stage, bring the government down. They are the umbilical cord that we have to govern.
So it's more about survival of the government than about the country's best interest,
about the country
or honouring the will of the people. Heidi, let me ask Heidi. This is a complete...
Can we talk about cycling, please?
Yes, we can talk about cycling.
Would you rather talk about cycling?
A lot of it in Cambridge.
Lots of people would rather talk about anything else.
I like cycling. I don't like cyclists.
And motorists are people who drive cars, by the way. They're not motorists.
You know what happens when cyclists become professional, they all cheat. Right? So it's you know what
I'm not intimately.
And these are the people we apparently have to humanise, right? A bunch of cheats.
Heidi,
always like this.
Yeah, sorry, you should watch the programme more often.
Did you get up earlier, Heidi?
Heidi, you left the Conservative Party. Is it time for the Prime Minister now to leave the job?
Well, that will be a decision...
Oh, come on, yes or no?
Well,
Get off the fence, Heidi.
Put it this way. If she is forced into having to leave a job, because I won't have any influence over that now, obviously, that just tells me everything about why I was worried about backing her deal in the first instance. Because, the withdrawal agreement is one part of it. That's the legally binding bit, how we leave. But my fear was always around the political declaration, the future part, which is not legally binding. And the whole point of them bullying and booting her out is that they can get the leader in that they want, who will be a hard Brexiteer, who can rip that up and say, let's have no deal.
What did your constituency vote?
Heavily Remain.
So you feel you are genuinely, honestly, authentically representing
100%.
your constituency. The trouble is the vote wasn't done by constituency,
was it?
It was done by the whole of the UK.
Yeah.
And in that, a majority voted for Brexit. And you stood on a Conservative manifesto which said that you would deliver on Brexit.
I did, although in the last general election, anybody that looked at my campaign literature or what I was saying when I was knocking on doors, I used my own literature. I didn't use central offices, actually, for that purpose.
And it's one of the reasons why you feel you can no longer represent the
well, there's a lot of reasons why I can't.
But during the election, Heidi, I've seen some footage on Guido Fawkes where during that campaign you said, listen, it was a national referendum. I realise you voted Remain, but I respect the verdict.
And I did. And after the referendum...
But you've changed your mind on that,
Yes,
then.
because when I said those things, and I'm not hiding from the fact, it was because I was behind the Prime Minister and I wanted to give her my support. And it was in the early days when I thought, yes, she's going to go out there and get a deal.
Why were you on the People's Vote March, then?
But for all the reasons that, we are in a different position now.
Do you want another referendum?
I don't crave it.
You were marching for it.
Yes, but as a consequence...
How many times do you march for things you don't want?
No, there's a difference between accepting that that's the way out of this mess and actively having wanted it for the last 3 years.
Well, not really. If you're marching with people for a people's vote...
Because they deserve a say
that would seem
to
suggest to me that you believe there should be one.
But because there is no way out. There is absolutely no way out.
So you do want one?
Well, going back to...
Actually, there is a way out. It's called no deal. It's called...
Do you have any idea, Piers, with the greatest of respect, will you lose your job if there's no deal?
I have about as much idea about what would happen as you do, right? And here's why I say that.
But you would be secure.
Hang on.
You would
You've
be
asked a
secure.
question. Let me answer you. When I was editor for Daily Mirror back in the early 2000s, the Euro debate was raging, right? And I was approached by Tony Blair, Alistair Campbell, all the people currently raging away about it'll be apocalyptic if we have no deal, right? They all said the same thing to me. If we do not join the euro, it will be a financial disaster for this country, recession, hundreds of thousands of job losses, all the same stuff we're getting now. You know what happened? We didn't join the euro. Best thing we never did. Best thing for the British economy. They were all made to look completely stupid, right? And so the same people now want me to believe, and I'm sorry, it's a bit like the boy that cried wolf. It's like, well, why should I believe you again?
But
we were told by the governor of the Bank of
absolutely...
England, if we voted to leave, we would virtually be in recession by now. The former Chancellor said 800,000 job losses within weeks of voting to leave. None of it happened.
But the fundamental difference, if I may say with respect, between you and I, is your job is not to protect the livelihoods of your constituents, mine is.
Right, but how do you know? How do you know what would happen?
When it comes to...
How do you know with such certainty?
Because, you know, guess what?
Everyone's got it wrong so far about the euro, and everyone got it wrong about the consequences of an immediate aftermath of a leave vote, including the governor of the Bank of England. How do you, with great respect to you, actually know what would happen with no deal?
With great respect to you, sir...
Should we stop saying great respect? I don't think either of us have a modicum of respect for each other. So...
The difference... As my husband always says to me, Heidi, you were born with 2 ears and 1 mouth, use them in proportion. I'm listening. I suspect perhaps you are less so.
Can I?
There is evidence.
Oh,
to me,
that was definitely
to me, the purest form of Brexit left on the table is not Theresa May's terrible deal that everyone agrees is terrible, but now apparently all is going to go along with. And I'm a Remainer.
I don't think the deal will go through.
I'm a Remainer. I voted Remain, I would do again. But I think democracy dictates that we actually enact the will of the people, which was to leave. It wasn't to part leave. The only thing left on the table that is leaving, real leaving, is no deal. And you clowns in Parliament have all taken it off the table.
Can we, do we believe that democracy only exists on one day with one group of people on that day
Here's what I think.
years ago?
Well, the trouble is, the leaflet said, whatever you vote, we will put into place. And if you make a promise like that, then yes, that's...
David Cameron said once only. Once only, once in a lifetime vote. He didn't say we'll have another one before we even try and enact the result of the first one. My point is, you voted to leave this country. We have to try it. If it fails, you can have another referendum and you can try and go another way, right? But you have to try it.
In your opinion? In your opinion?
No, in the opinion of democracy. It's called democracy.
Yeah.
That's what it is, actually. You ask the British people, the British Prime Minister says, this is a once-in-a-lifetime vote. It's all down to you. Not parliamentarians.
OK.
You.
Piers, I believe...
Sorry, Nigel. Can I just let Heidi respond to the point?
As MPs, we have a very different job. It's to
Your job's to do what we pay you to do, which is deliver the result of a referendum.
Keep going, Heidi.
Thank you, I'll try. Maybe I'll just look at you.
Look me in the eye.
My job is to represent my constituents, their livelihoods, and as a consequence, the country. I am fiscally and from an ambition point of view, maybe I am modest when it comes to the future of my constituents, but I am not prepared to take the gamble that no deal is going to be OK. Because I believe, listening to experts, reading the no deal analysis that MPs have had the privilege of seeing...
You have to make a judgment.
Absolutely, and that is our job. That's what we're elected to do. If my constituents think I've got it wrong, they can boot me out sooner maybe than the next general election. Who knows? But the point is, while I'm in this job, it is my responsibility to stand up for my constituents. No, because I'm doing well here. I think I'll keep the eye contact.
Let's have a drinking game with you and me, right?
I know I would lose on that.
Basically, what you've now been saying is that despite your previous utterances, that this is about recognising and respecting a national vote, actually you're more concerned about saving your own backyard and your own seat by doing what your Remain-dominated constituency wants.
If my backyard is the livelihoods and the fact that my constituents can put food on their tables, I will defend that with every fibre in my being.
Your Remain-dominated constituency is more important to you than the country that voted leave, right?
But it isn't just my constituents who signed the, over 6 million now, revoke Article 50 petition.
Have you signed it?
Yes, I have. A lot of
so
my
you want
many
to
times?
revoke Article 50?
if it is if we are looking
Without
at the
a
option of
second vote?
no, I would rather have a second referendum. But if we get to the 11th hour and we're looking at no deal and it's catastrophic, literally that choice, I hope we don't get to that.
Yeah.
Nigel, what would
It's one
happen if we
bazooka.
revoked Article 50?
Oh, it'd be. I think democracy is on drip feed at the
So do
moment.
I.
Yeah.
We've delayed it by 2 weeks. There was real anger in my constituency this weekend when people said, for goodness sake, I voted Remain. They say to me, just get on with it. And I believe that if we let the British people down by either a diluted form of Brexit, which is not what people want to
That's
control
what you're
our
about
borders.
to vote for.
No, I'm not. We will
You
control
are.
our borders.
Sorry,
Piers.
Nigel, but you are.
No, Piers.
You're about to sign up to a deal that you have trashed, right? So that is not actually doing what you've just said.
I'll tell you
it's
what,
the opposite.
it may be a hop, skip and a jump Brexit, but at least we'll get there. But I believe that if we
It's a
extend
load of baloney
Article
Brexit,
50,
which
and this is-
everyone's been trashing.
this is the
right?
real problem
Which
for
has
us.
had two of the most destructive, negative votes in the history of the House of
Yeah,
Commons.
I appreciate
That's
all of
how
that.
good it is.
But
nothing's changed. It's the same thing.
not good enough.
A lot have changed. A lot of things have changed. And one of them is that the Prime Minister took no deal off the table 2 days ago because she knows that Parliament will not vote for that. So the hierarchy of choices are hop, skip and a jump Brexit or extending Article 50 so we fight the European Union.
Or you all
election.
just grow a pair and stand up for your principles.
That would be
That would be a
appalling.
nice
It's a
thing.
not
That would
good
be
enough
appalling.
Brexit.
People standing up for their principles. That doesn't mean going on marches for people's votes and sitting here shamelessly saying, I don't actually believe
The
that.
last time I checked, Piers, it's a democracy and people have the right to say how they
You
feel.
marched on
And
a
the
people's
people-
vote, but don't
people
believe in a
who-
second referendum. That is the people's vote.
Democracy does not exist and die on one day only.
Are you marching
As
tomorrow for something you don't believe in?
parliamentarians, We have a duty to respond.
Any
to
more
the-
marches coming up
to
that you
the
don't believe in?
We have a well, I'm going to the Barbra Streisand in Hyde Park.
Do you believe in Barbra Streisand?
I
Because
do
she's
believe
a
in
terrible
Barbra
singer.
Streisand.
Well, I-
Actually, no, don't get me started on Barbra
Piers,
Streisand. You
I
are
love
right.
Barbra Streisand.
My suggestion for Heidi, though, is that she stood as a Conservative in 2017. She stood on a platform of delivering the people's vote, and then she switched parties. Well,
want her to have
a by-election.
maybe you should present yourself to your electorate
Let me
now
tell
in
you,
a
you all
by-election
stood,
and give them
with
a
great
second
respect
vote.
to all of you, you all stood on a platform of representing the British public, right? And right now, you've all singularly failed, or rather, collectively failed.
Or perhaps we're trying to protect their future. Does it occur to you that possibly the reason so many MPs are really struggling with finding a way through this is because in their hearts they know that Brexit is going to make their constituents poorer?
Yeah, well,
and
you know
as an
what?
MP,
Yeah,
that's
but
you know
not
what?
what you
Liz,
sign
the
up to
trouble
do.
is
You know what? The
that-
trouble is, it didn't say on the ballot paper that you vote, if you vote leave or you vote to stay in, it didn't have all these little caveats like, actually, but if you're a Remainer MP, you know, you can use the excuses
policy
bad
has
for the
to
people.
respond to the facts in front of us now.
But Heidi, sorry, with respect.
Of course, always
respect.
with respect.
If you tell if you tell 17.4 million people that they voted for something that they were stupid enough was going to make them poorer, you are really going to antagonise 17.4 million people.
It's the form of the
Because
deal
actually
now that will make them poorer.
Okay,
Yeah, but we
that's
didn't vote
different.
for a
That's
form of
different.
deal,
At the
did
time,
we?
we didn't know. That was the point, I suppose.
Yeah, the only thing we voted for was to leave or stay. No deal
But
is
there was-
actually the
there was
purest form of leave
discussion.
imaginable.
There
And
was-
you've all taken it off the table.
But there was
So
discussion.
now we're left with the Theresa May fudge, which everybody hates and now is all pretending is the best deal possible.